Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, Tania and Syngin. Let's watch. We're going back in time.
Things with Syngin have been a little hard since his interview at the bar. Since the beginning, I kind of realized that Syngin's drinking was more than what I was comfortable with. Hearing his reassurances that these were things that he recognized and will work on, and I just blindly almost kind of was like, okay, cool. But now I want to hold him a little bit more accountable.
Okay, so this is more codependent overfunctioning language. I don't know what's really going on in this couple, but we use this as a jumping off point, and I hear these things from codependent people that I treat. I don't know if she has codependency, but the people that I've treated who have the schemas and thus the behaviors and reactivity to codependency will have, and they use it in their language. So we heard two key words in codependency. One is he's doing something that I'm not comfortable with. And that has I'm guessing if she were more upset, she'd be, it's unacceptable. I'll hear that from codependent people. They'll say, his drinking is unacceptable to me. Now, on some level, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I mean, if someone is doing something that is out of control and is affecting you a lot, you can say, I don't like that. But that's language that you hear from parents. The other word we heard was, what did she say there at the end? Let's rewind. There was a word at the end that was definitely in that zone.
These were things that he recognized and will work on, and I just, blindly almost kind of was like, okay, cool. But now I want to hold him a little bit more accountable.
Hold him accountable. This is a classic codependent thing. How can you hold your partner who's on the same level accountable? Now, on some level, so it depends on what she means by it, but these are words that I hear from people where they're not saying, so there's a version of fair accountability, holding someone accountable. Like, hey, well, God, I can't really think of it, because I'm just thinking with my wife, for example. I'm not codependent with my wife. So if my wife were to promise me something, like picking me up from the airport, or, I don't know, cut down on drinking or something, I would never hold her accountable. I would tell her as a peer, as a grown woman who can make her own choices, how it impacts me. I would tell her, because you didn't pick me up at the airport, which, by the way, she would never do. She's extremely punctual. That's one thing we're very compatible with. The two of us are extremely punctual, because some couples, it's like you got one punctual and one not, or both not. The two of us are, I don't know anyone more punctual than the two of us. Anyway, so she would always, but let's say she didn't in some weird universe. And she, that bothered me. I wouldn't say like, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable for not, why would I word it that? I'd be like, hey, when you didn't pick me up, it like ruined my life. It ruined my night. It hurt my feelings. It made me feel like or something. That's what adults do to other adults. You inform, hey, when you did that, it impacted me, because the other adult knows how to accommodate you. All you got to do is tell them how it impacted you. The other adult will figure it out on their own. You don't have to talk down to them. I'm going to hold you accountable. You're irresponsible, and this attitude of, you are my child. I am in control of you. I am your superior. I know what's better I'm going to hold you accountable. And now, where it generates from is fine. She is concerned that he drinks too much. Yeah, it looks like he does drink a lot. And he seems to be, we don't know, but if he does have a drinking problem, he appears to be in denial of it, because he keeps saying, like, I didn't show this, but he said, my drinking doesn't interfere with my life at all. And that's possible, but it's not likely. I mean, the amount of money you spend, the amount of intoxication that interferes with you getting anything done, hangovers, the relationship problems, the health problem, anyway. But, it's possible that he's just like, look, yeah, I get pretty hammered every now and then, and, doesn't get in the way of anything. Driving, of course, that's probable that he probably does drive drunk. I don't know if he does. Anyway, so he does seem to exhibit some concern. So I'm going to trust her that her anxiety is totally justified. What do you do with that anxiety? Do you come down on someone like you're their mom, or you say, hey, and she's capable of both. She will come down, over-functioning and codependent, assuming that she is his mom and she has the authority to tell him what to do. But other times she can come at him as a peer and say, I'm just terrified of what's happening. When you do that, you give him much greater opportunity to rise to the occasion. When you talk down to someone, they want to push back on you. And we've seen that. The way he pushes back is to say, back off, I don't have a problem. But if you came at him as a peer, as an equal, and said, look, I don't know if you have a problem or not. Only you can define that for yourself. But I'm worried, and I see this and I see that, and your drinking impacts me in this way. And I just want you to know I love you, and I want to have a good life together, and I just want you to know that. He's capable of taking that and running with it. Now, we don't know if he would, but when you come down on someone, one, it causes them to want to push back and say, screw you, you can't tell me what to do. I'm going to drink anyway. I'll show you that I can do this and drink at the same time. The other thing is it makes someone feel small and worthless, which causes them to need to drink more. Some people will be like, screw it. If you see me as an idiot, I might as well drink. If I might as well live up to your expectations. So I just want to point that out. I don't know really what's going on with this couple, but we use this as a jumping off point. And if you see this kind of behavior, either doing it or the recipient of it, you should be able to identify it so that you can target it.
You have struggled to find a healthy balance with everything since I've known you, a healthy balance of work and drinking and partying. And it's like, I'm tired.
I'm sorry about that. That is a weakness of me, but I'm truly sorry, and I know I'll take more responsibility when it comes to also just...
All right, so she said a lot of things there that I'm guessing we just don't have data on. She said you struggled with finding a healthy balance with a number of different things. I don't remember them talking about that, so I'm just going to take Tania's word for it, and he agrees with it. He says, you're right, and I apologize, and I'm working on that. Okay. So this conversation isn't slipping into an overfunctioner or underfunctioner because he's talking like an adult, and maybe that'll help her to, and that is the antidote to overfunctioning codependency, is if you're the recipient of it, is to act very mature and say, you're right. There are some, I do make mistakes, and I agree with you on this level, and I'm going to work on it, and I've been trying, and I might slip up on it. That is one antidote. The other antidote is for the codependent overfunctioner to get a lot of therapy to deal with the relational traumas that they went through that produced this compulsive, anxious focus and hypervigilance on other people's self-destruction.
Why not have more of this before? You always knew I wanted to have some roots here in the States.
I thought I could almost change that, but I don't have a trust in just staying here.
Wow. So I think what's happening is that although the two of them at least implied to each other that they were going to get married and live in the States, he is now saying he never planned on staying in America, staying in the United States. Wow, that should have been a conversation to have before getting married or even engaged. Maybe the fact that they rushed to get married was a mistake. Plus the other issue that hasn't come up yet, again, but came up in the beginning, was their plans for having kids. She wanted to have a bunch of kids, and he was like, well, maybe one or two. And then he also said, I don't know if I want to have kids, so I'm waiting for that stuff to hit the fan.
For you, I didn't come here to build. I would like to go further and explore. What's the next step? Where are we going?
So when we were living together and you weren't thinking of a future together, I was.
But here's what's crazy to me. You want me to come here and build a family and with you, but you don't even recognize me as your soulmate.
Okay, so he's still holding on to that, which is understandable. This is a weird place to bring it up. I don't understand how it's really connected, and I felt like she really apologized in a sincere way. She was, I get that you're upset, and I would be upset too if I were in your shoes. And It's not that I don't love you. I do. I love you. I want to be with you. You know, I think what was clear from her apology was that, and I think he received it as such, was that she really loved him, wanted to spend the rest of her life with him, felt like he was the one for her, felt like their relationship was very special. And I don't know, she had a story in her mind of just like, you know, I needed to get into the bar. Before I met you, I just had to there was something pulling me in, you know, some cosmic thing that was pulling us together that means that we're meant to be together. And I think what she was trying to say is, you know, yes, I had this previous relationship where my love for this person was very intense, but I want to be with you, you know. And anyway, but he's still holding on to it, which again makes sense given the way she delivered it at first. It's the way she delivered it at first. It sounded like, yeah, I love you, but I love my ex-partner way more than I love you. That's the way it came across, and he was really upset. But anyway, but I don't know why he'd bring it up now. It seems like a manipulation or a game that he's playing, because it sounds like he's trying to say, hey, I don't want to live in the States anymore. I want to go back to South Africa. And I'm going to use this old thing where you made a mistake to try to, you know, pull a lever so that you'll let us move to South, or let me go to South. I don't know. The other thing is, this is coming up when he's starting to get pressure to slow his drinking down and to get a job. And I think he's starting to, and he tried to get a job at a bar and he got discouraged by not getting the job. And so he is, I think, possibly suddenly faced with this prospect of, what if I never get a job in the United States? It was so easy for me to get a job in South Africa. I had connections, or the job market is more conducive to me or something. And maybe he thinks that the States is just like incredibly hard to get a job. And maybe it is. It's probably easier than he thinks it is at this point. I don't know. I'm guessing he's also missing his home country. And so he just brings this up out of the blue. Maybe it had been percolating in him for a while. Maybe he feels like she's shaming him a lot and he doesn't like that feeling. And so he just brings this up, and then he throws this curveball of the soulmate thing.
That, I think, is a little bit messed up for my mind, you think?
It's how you say it, Syngin, and it's not even to that level.
Maybe it's the way my accent comes out. I don't know.
Syngin, don't.
I don't know.
Maybe it's your accent. Maybe it's your accent. Maybe it's the fact that you don't even give a we haven't talked about it because it's been fine.
Okay. So that was a shocker to her. I think she feels attacked and ashamed. I think it's a sore spot for her, because I think she feels ashamed of what happened back then. And he just, you know, dropped it into the conversation. And so she is saying, I think what she's saying is, we haven't even talked about it since then. So what? This has been in your mind this whole time? You haven't told me? This has been some resentment you've been, you know, it can be really shocking to hear it like out of, like, wait, you've been holding on to that this whole time?
Before me and Tania got married, you know, she dropped the bombshell on me, said she doesn't feel that I'm a soulmate. But I decided, you know, that wasn't worth breaking up, because it's something we could talk through and sort through. But it can be hard for me sometimes to understand when she wants to make future plans, but she's unsure if I'm a true soulmate.
Interesting. So what it sounds like is that he's still angry and hurt about that, and is not bringing it up until there's a fight or something. And that's a problem. And maybe, I don't know, he drinks to cover that up, but then when it comes out, it comes out. I don't know. And that definitely needs to be discussed, because it sounds like what he's still holding on to that narrative of that it's such a, and I've been over this ground, but what is a soulmate? You know, if the two of them were clients in my office, I'd be like, let's define soulmate. Because I think and they even kind of agreed that they didn't have the same definition. I think for him, soulmate is, we were meant to be together and we should be together. And for her, soulmate, I think, means an infatuated first love that was extremely intense. that I had for someone in the past, but I don't have with you. I love you. I want to be with you. But I had a very intense love with someone in the past, which, as I said in previous videos, is quite normal. It's very normal to have when you're 14 or 22, when you have your first love, to have it be incredibly intense and chaotic and dysfunctional and problematic. That's common because of the reasons I talked about previously. So I think that's the way, and I think she was kind of exploring that. She's like, as she's about to get married, she's like, well, I did love someone bigger. What does that mean? Does that mean that I should be with the person in the past? Does it mean that I should try to find someone else and have that big love? But I really want to be with Syngin, you know? And my suspicion is that Tania concluded that that past love, although was more intense and had more infatuation, didn't mean that her love for Syngin wasn't valid or wasn't to be pursued. And seemingly her love for Syngin was very strong. It just wasn't as infatuated as a past. That's the way I think she was saying about the soulmate thing. So they apparently have not come to an agreement about what that means. And this points to how careful we should be when we use certain language with our partner, especially when we think it could hurt their feelings. Like if she just would have used a different word when she said, no, you're not my soulmate, you know, because the astrologer said, is he your soulmate? She's like, no, my soulmate is someone from the past. If it's what does that mean, right? If she just would have said, is he my soulmate? If she just would have said, well, I really don't know what a soulmate is. I know I love him and I want to be with him. Like if she just would have said that, which I think would have been a true response, then this whole thing wouldn't have happened. So it's important to be precise, because once you say something, even if you don't really mean it, it can really stick with someone, as it clearly has with him. And the amount of repair that you have to do to fix it can be really extreme. And I hope that they do.
Even right now, I'm still iffy. I don't know what the future holds, maybe because I haven't truly committed to this. You know, I mean, this.
Yikes. Wow. I mean, if you're Tania, you're just like, oh, wait, what? So he says, I think what he's saying is, I'm realizing now I haven't really fully committed to this. What? To marrying me and having kids with me and living the rest of your life with me? What is happening right now? Yeah. Wow. So now that happens, right? People wake up one day and they're just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. That happens all the time, unfortunately, and maybe that's what happened. Or did he always know that he wasn't fully committed and he just never talked about it? I don't know. Let's see what he says.
Because I'm ready to start planning our 1 year or 3 year plan.
I didn't fly halfway across the world to not start a new chapter. I truly want to start a new chapter with you, but I almost think I wanted to start a new chapter with you, but was I ready to start a new chapter?
Interesting. So he's saying, I wanted to start a new chapter, and I think what they mean by that is start building a life, getting a job, settling down, having kids. And then he says, you know, I wanted to want it, but I don't know if I actually wanted it. Okay, probably should have told her that before you got married. Because she has been clear from the beginning, you know. As soon as he landed in the States on their first date, she talked about how she's a planner, she wants to have kids, she wants to get going on this thing, and you've known about that, so yikes.
It's confusing to hear someone say that they're like not sure what their commitment is to you. It's confusing. Like, we're married now. Like, what do you mean? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, she seems to be taking it well, because, you know, that would be devastating to hear. Yeah, I don't know if we just got married, but I don't know if I want to make this work and make plans with you, but I don't know if I really want to do that with you. I think what he's also saying is, I want to be with you. I'm in love with you. But I just don't know if I want the life that you want. okay, again, should have had that conversation earlier, because I think for her, she would have said, then this isn't going to work if you're not willing to start building the life that I want to build.
Not being able to express my true self.
I think a lot of times, like when you say feel tied down and you're like nervous of all that, I think you relate to like how much you party and how much you drink and how much like...
No, I relate my freedom to how freely I can pack my and leave.
Okay, interesting. I was thinking the same thing that Tania was. It's like, are we talking about drinking? Are you holding on to the drinking? Is that what's happening? But he says, no. I equate it with packing my stuff and leaving. And I've been saying this from the beginning, that and I think he talks this way and says things that are, he's what we call a free spirit with wanderlust or something. You know, he doesn't like to make plans for the future, and it's fine. You know, there are people like that. I'm certainly not like that. Maybe I was when I was younger, but I certainly haven't been for many years. But I understand how people can be that way, and that's fine. And, you know, it's just interesting how their incompatibilities were so obvious. If this is what breaks, because I know that something breaks them up, because I know Syngin's on Single Life. So something breaks them up. If these are the things that break them up, which it seems like this would be a pretty big factor in them breaking up, it's just interesting to have seen these differences were so obvious. They were not hiding these things from each other, and yet they kept going, assuming that, I think what she was thinking was, well, I'll make him into a planner, or I'll make him conform to my plans, or I'll just organize him a little bit, which isn't a good approach, by the way. And I think he was thinking, well, I'll tell her that, sure, because, you know, I love her and I want to be with her, and I want those things, and maybe I will want those things. And then now he's realizing, no, I don't really want them, and I've never really wanted those things. So I think they were both deluding themselves because they loved each other, which we all do, which is why you wait to get married. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting married and get a divorce. There's no kids, so you're not putting that in jeopardy.
Pack my bags and go.
So that in itself suffocates you a little bit.
It's complicated. Now, even our future plans, it kind of aligns, but it kind of doesn't, you know? So I sometimes think, like, if we know this now, why are we still continuing with the relationship now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess no time like the present, better now than later, would have been better earlier, but I guess if this is what he's realizing, then get it on the table for sure.
The only reason me and Tania did get married is because of the 90 days and the K1 visa, or else we wouldn't have been married. We would have tried and sort all these things out before taking that jump.
Again, as people will tell me who have been through the K1 visa, you're supposed to have made a firm choice about being married, meaning that you've dated each other enough and had enough conversations about the future. You decide to get married, you're like, yeah, let's do it. And then you have the 90 days to actually get the wedding done, right? To actually come to town, you know, get the caterer, get the venue or whatever. And he is saying that he was still, anyway, point is that it's just another example of how people should have just waited, you know? Okay, it's a long distance relationship and that sucks. And there are ways of, you know, dating long distance. It's hard, maybe not recommended for this reason, but like I said, there's no kids. So if they do divorce, there's not, it's essentially like the biggest consequence is you have to do the paperwork and you wasted money on a wedding ceremony and a wedding dress, which isn't great. But when you have kids, that's when things are just like with Ari and Biniam, when they start having problems, they have a child in different countries, and the child will possibly suffer if there's a divorce and the parents are living in different countries. So with them, if they divorce without kids, then there's not as much consequences. So the fact that they potentially impulsively got married, it has less of a negative effect.
I love Tania, but I don't want to stay long term in the States because I think there is better opportunities out there. You know, I also kind of been homesick since I left. If our plans don't align and we can't find a compromise where we both are happy, then that'll be the end of us.
Okay, so he's saying what I thought. It's like, my job opportunities are maybe not to my liking in the States, and I'm frankly a little homesick. Okay, and you know, you realize that now. Would have been nice if you would have known that earlier. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.